Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Group Chat, the number one podcast in the world. We have an action-packed episode. We're first kicking it off with a really awesome interview from the CEO of immi. It's a brand new app that is really freaking cool when it comes to animation. And he kind of walks us what he believes the future of how the Web 2 and the Web 3 world kind of all converge. His name is Josh Jenkins-Robbins from immi app. Definitely super interesting conversation. And then we dive into news. Earnings, aka losings. Every company. It's a bloodbath out there. And we are holding our breath, according to Anand, to the CPI report that comes out tomorrow. If it is bad,
there will be no episode Thursday.
There will be no episode Thursday. So for all you Cathys, go home tonight and pray for low inflation. How many people are praying for low inflation tonight?
Me.
We need 75 million people to pray for low inflation.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter your creed. Everyone,
whatever God you worship,
whatever belief system you have, you need to pray for low inflation.
If you're an atheist, pray to Jerome Powell.
Pay to JP.
Yeah.
All right, and then we have some fun sports talk at the end. Someone just got offered the biggest deal we've ever seen to just talk. All right, let's get into it.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
All right, everyone. We have an awesome interview that we're about to do with Josh from the immi app, and I was playing around with it with my kids yesterday, and it felt like I was playing around with something from the future. Like it really is. Like I was like, oh wow. Is this what the metaverse is going to be like? Because I am not too sure what the metaverse is yet, but this looks like I could be down with it if you can actually mimic real life. Josh, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, man. I'm glad to hear you say that because that's what we're aiming for. That's what we've been building for the last year and a half.
Oh wow! Okay, amazing. So, like, how would you explain? First, like, give us some background. Like, how did you end up in this kind of world? Because this seems like where a lot of venture dollars, a lot of the best talent in the world is heading. Like, how did you end up in this position?
Well, sometimes you find yourself in a position, not necessarily because you strategically saw the metaverse coming or whatever, but, I'll give you a little bit of background. I actually became an investor in an animation studio in Los Angeles called AMGI Studios almost a couple years ago now. And these are a bunch of Pixar and DreamWorks and Disney guys, and they had set out to build the fastest animation studio in the world. In other words, it doesn't need to take 4 years to make Toy Story when you can make it in 1 year. And the question is how? And what they're doing is they're leveraging the best of gaming technology, and mixing it with production. So like they use like the Unreal Engine, right, which is what powers Fortnite and Epic Games, and there's a lot of people using that now, but what they were doing is doing some incredible work with motion capture. So I would go to their studio and watch these guys in motion capture suits, and they had all the sensors on them. And they had a helmet on too, and the helmet had a little tong, that came out and held an iPhone in front of their face. I said, well, what's the iPhone for? And they said, well, the iPhone is so good at tracking 52 points on your face. That's why we could open up our phones with like Face ID. Yeah. And we can actually map the body of the actor and the facial expression to the actor to the character. And so now they could act out scenes and do all that in real time. And it's just incredible. I was like, that's amazing. So some weeks went by and we got back together and we came up with this concept of, you know what? I love to solve problems. My background is I've been a founder entrepreneur and built and sold a couple companies. And I go by the belief that the bigger problem you solve, the bigger the opportunity, the bigger the reward. And what I saw was that casual creators dominate the world. We know this, right? YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, but they've never had the ability to make animated content before, right? So unless you have time and money and expertise and software and training, I said, so why not? What if we could bridge that gap? What if we could give people a way where they could look into their phone using just their facial expression and use this incredible intelligence and hardware and power full body 3D animated characters? What if we could take those and let people create scenes and and put them in augmented reality and maybe even communicate, right? Using Zoom or Twitch or any other streaming platform. That to me was the vision of this, of what we could create. And we didn't know if we could do it, frankly. And I'd say, to answer your question about how we get here, about halfway through that process is kind of when the quote unquote metaverse and NFT world really started to take off and kind of tilt the tables in our favor, if you will. And so, we said, this is a huge opportunity for this is the way that people want to have fun. They want to interact. And for us, this is a form. I'll get on here in a second with some characters, but for us, this is a form of it's like digital cosplay, right? This is why we love Halloween. People love to embody characters. They love the self-expression that it brings. They love the connection that it brings. They love the freedom that it brings. And the joy and the delight, frankly, and the fun. I mean, that's why, our ethos around here is fun. So we want to deliver fun, quite frankly, in a time when the world needs it most.
Wow, that's really cool. And I think the interesting thing is like, a lot of the things that people are talking about and are investing in today are in kind of this future state. And for us sitting here today, the future state just seems like way the fuck away. Like it doesn't seem like we're close.
Right.
This feels like a more logical step where, I can be a character on my Instagram stories and do some fun things. So like the physical world can see what we're doing.
Yeah.
And because like we're just looking at, we talk a lot about crypto and Web3 here. And if you look at the actual users on Sandbox or Decentraland, it's nothing. It's
right.
like no one's really using it yet.
Sure.
Not to say that it's not going to be revolutionary and all these types of things, but when you look at like how many people still use Facebook every day, billion plus people, like
3 billion.
Well, that's across all the apps.
Yeah.
Sure, 3 billion people. So like to us, like, yes, maybe there's a future state where these things are going to be incredibly adapted, but like today we're not there yet. And like, I feel like what you're building is like an interesting, like, okay, you got to ease us into like I think like what the iPhone did was like ease us into the future. Like I'm sure they thought of every feature the day they launched the product and said, by the way, this phone's going to do all this, but like society isn't ready for all of this at once. Like what you're giving me today, when I was looking at it last night playing with my kids, I'm like, I can get behind this. I was like, this awesome character. I'm just making faces and like talking to my kids. They got that. They understood it. Like, and I understood it. And I understood how to use it. Is that how you're thinking about it? Like, do you think this is just like, obviously you have a vision that's far beyond what you're showing us today, but is this like the natural first step?
I think it's a great natural progression because I don't think that, we're like Web 2 and Web 3 is not a binary situation, right? So, Web 2 still has all the distribution, it has all the content, it has, that's where the world still lives. And Web 3 is really digital architecture, for unique ownership and things of that nature. But I look at it as like, how do we maximize both? I mean, I want to be able to create and post and do all that fun stuff with Web 2, but maybe I want to own a character that's an NFT, right? And have that character be a fully animated character so that instead of just posting it as a profile picture, I actually have a use for it and add utility. So I think our vision is that we want to bring utility to the Web3 space and to the character fanatics that live in the Web3 space.
Yeah, I think that's a very important distinction because I say this all the time that today, if you want any Web3 product to work at scale, there has to be a Web2 element. And maybe we get to Web3 exclusive one day. Like, is there a world where Web3 decentralized social media apps exist and there's no Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook? Maybe, but that's a long way away for that to actually happen. And there's going to be this hybrid world for now. And, it's I like the way you're attacking it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that really our whole mission is to bring this kind of the fun and the joy of it. And I think that if you look at where Apple's going with wearables, if you look at where Niantic is going, it's kind of not this dystopian metaverse where everybody straps on a headset and floats around with an avatar with no legs. They actually, this is more about, people having fun And maybe there's more of a mixed reality environment that people can really fully understand. That's kind of where Apple's headed with the wearables, et cetera. But and you could do that today with our technology, which is certainly, look, a week ago before we went live on the App Store, people didn't have the ability to make animated content, and now they do. So I'll show you guys some fun demos here. I'll switch over here, all my team, and I'll show you a little bit about what we're up to. So let's hear. This here is our Bored Ape. This is our company's Bored Ape, actually. So let me get him right here centered. But you can see his face is my face, right? Yeah. So I'm talking. And
so cool.
Yeah. So this allows me to have a totally different kind of fun communication and do a podcast with you guys, do streaming, whatever it might be, right? And then I can make him do all sorts of fun stuff. I can make him dance. Oh, yeah. So I can have such a good time with these guys. This is another NFT project that we're involved in called My Pet Hooligan, which is part of the studio here. And this one's really cool because this shows you a little bit about, we're going to take 8,888 of these guys. And so you'll be able to link your wallet directly into immi and pull up your unique hooligan. So that's going to be super fun. So that's how we're really approaching the NFT space. But
yeah, that's just, sorry to interrupt, but like if you own one of these high profile NFTs, like an ape or a punk or whatever, and you only communicate with your ape, like it's like, that's a pretty big flex.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And today people take pictures and they want to be anonymous. So they just post, like an image over their face. They're trying to, versus this is way more fun, super fun way to communicate. So as you can see, we're building all these character genres from monsters to anime to superheroes. We got all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, we're having a blast with this for sure.
How do you envision like brands using this, and like what's your business model?
That's a great question. So I'll take this one in character. And so I think there's three ways to look at it. I look at it as like three buckets, right? So we're going to have individual free characters, so the world can play with this. We want everybody to have fun. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to have what I'll call in-app purchases or promotional revenue or characters. So if you can imagine, if you're a movie studio, why wouldn't, let's say Minions is coming out next month, why wouldn't you want everybody in the world to become a Minion and to flood their feeds with Minions content? And then you run a competition. You say, who can create the most interesting Minion content? And then next thing you know, you've got this promotional aspect. So that's one aspect of the business. Then you have the NFT side. So we're working with, a couple different projects, as you mentioned, Bored Apes. We're working with My Pet Hooligan. And, then we'll ultimately do our own NFT series and our own drops. So we're excited about that. We're going to do a whole character genre. It'll be the first fully animated character genre. So that'll be very interesting. Developed for UGC, all for user generated content.
Wow. And so like, I mean, you could basically do like Cameo for animated characters pretty easily.
Oh yeah, you definitely could. So yeah, Cameo. I mean, it'd be really fun. You can do that now though. I mean, you could literally pick up your phone, do Cameo and or do a fun little voice and then drop one to someone in a message or whatever. Yeah. So that's super fun. And as you probably saw, we're doing Bored Apes for some celebs in the last 24 hours. Snoop Dogg's posted on his 4 times.
Yeah, so, his is so good.
Yeah, Paris Hilton and Mark Cuban and G Money is in the NFT space as well. We got Jimmy Fallon's ape. So we got a bunch of celeb apes that we're working on because, again, it moves it beyond a profile picture to something that they actually want to partake in. So we'll switch back to me. But yeah, there's so much fun character. We're building a world here. I mean, this is kind of this, if you want to call Marvel of the metaverse, we're building, tons of original IP and we're having a blast with it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And like, so now we understand the present state. What does the future look like? Give us like, you won't believe the way the world is going to work.
Well, I think for us, the future of this for immi, I mean, who knows where the whole world is going, but I think the vision is really character portability. So when you look at these, we've actually built all these characters in Unreal before we put them in the iPhone. So if you can imagine a world where maybe you buy a character, whether it's an in-app purchase, or maybe you buy an NFT character that's your unique character, and then you're ultimately able to use that character for content creation. And then you want to move that, and you want to bring that character with you to courtside to a game and put it in augmented reality and have a conversation with your fans. And then you want to do a FaceTime call with that character. And then then later on during work, you're going to do a Zoom call with that character. And then later in that afternoon, you're going to go play a game, and you're going to port that character into a gaming environment, and you get to play with that character. So it becomes an extension of your digital identity. And what's cool about it is that you could change characters. Like there's a lot of these like avatars out there that are kind of a digital representation of you. And I think we've seen over the years that those are kind of uninteresting. People might create one for a minute and then they don't really use it. Yeah. I think people like the idea of the self-expression of becoming a character that maybe embodies how you feel in that moment. And then you might want to change that character. You might want to be something totally different. It's something that subverts the moment, or something that's super funny. You might want to be a baby, or you might want to be a superhero. You might want to be that crazy Grumple, we call him, the kind of Shrek-like character that I just showed you a minute ago. So there's all sorts of fun that you can have with this. And so I think that's really the vision. If you show up, you could show up to a meeting as a dragon, right? Like, whatever you want to be, like, just have so much fun with this and be able to embody these things. Yeah. But I don't see it as being, where we sit in our apartments all day or houses and strap our, headset on and we live there exclusively and we don't interact with human beings. Cause I think that's naive, because humans need connection. I mean, just look at the pandemic. It showed us how valuable connection is, right? I don't know about you guys, but when we came out of this thing, getting back together with people and having fun in community, it was like we were starved for that. So I don't think this dystopian versions of the metaverse that are kind of being pitched out there, and not to mention it's a lot of marketing anyway.
Yeah. It really feels like it's the progression of the emoji.
Yep.
Like emoji is how we kind of talk to each other without using words today.
Right.
But it's just one dimensional.
Yeah, I can't imagine the number of emojis are sent a day globally. It's got to be billions.
Yeah. And if there was just an easy way to reflect that energy, but through an animated character, I mean, like, I would just message in, like, depending on the character, like, my friends like to fuck off all the time with different animated characters.
Exactly. That's the fun part.
Exactly. I mean, super interesting. And so is the idea, like, today, like, just get people to use this and try it? Like, is like, you can now download the app. It's immi. You can download it and start making videos right now, right?
That's right. Yeah, I think the goal is to empower people to create and to have fun. I mean, our goal is to empower the casual creator. And also, like, I know most of the people that are like on TikTok, whatever, they're not creating TikToks. I mean, it's probably single digit percentage of people that are just watching versus actually participating. And what we found is that when people get a hold of this app, they actually have a lot of fun participating, actually creating, because it's so much fun. So, and anybody can use it. So our goal is to create mass adoption. What's beautiful is that animation is worldwide. It's globally loved, right? It's the universal language. And so I envision this as being something that is entertaining and fun and joyful for the world to start creating with. And we're going to run some competitions here soon that allow people to create, and we'll do, like, the funniest clip, the most interesting use of augmented reality. I mean, our characters walk in AR. You can move them around in AR, so you can walk around them and create over the shoulder. The app's kind of like an instrument. The more you use it, the better you get. And some of the content, if you look on our social accounts, it's pretty incredible what people are already starting to do. Super fun.
I also think the other piece that's super interesting is that there's a podcast my brother was talking about regarding, like, raising teenagers and parenting and social media impact on young people. And one of the things that, like, we always talk about is, like, social media should be basically banned till you're 18 years old, because you really can't handle the judgment of your peers or strangers.
Yep.
Honestly, you're not even ready at 18. You're probably ready at 40.
And you can't trust the algorithms that are delivering the information.
Yes, but I think imagine if you, as a young person, a child, get to participate via animation, because, like, part of it is like, a lot of people are just not comfortable in their own skin for whatever reasons, and this gives you such an amazing way to express yourself but not feel like you're going to be judged by all of society.
I mean, Instagram's the perfect example. How many edits go into every post?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, 0.
But for most people, many.
But it's a good point. I mean, you're really tapping into something that has existed that exists outside of technology, right? I look at, I'm a San Diego guy, and I look at Comic-Con, and you look at the vast majority of those people, right, that are there, they're dressing up, they're going for it, they're in full costume. They wouldn't. I can probably guarantee that they don't have that level of self-expression or confidence outside of that environment, right? Mm-hmm. So in a weird way, this is very much digital cosplay in that way, that people can step in behind a character, have their voice pilot the character, have their facial expressions pilot the character, but feel free to express themselves without that judgment, that anonymity. So there's a lot of different use cases here. Funny enough, I've had 2 extreme examples. One is a guy who does Bitcoin mining and trading, and he says all my developers, all my engineers, they want to remain anonymous, so they want to use this. And then, we've also shown this to, actually we had some cognitive therapists look at this and say, this would be amazing for therapists, adult therapists to interact with kids with autism for their therapy, because they open up so much easier to character than they would an adult. I was like, wow, there's so many different, really interesting psychological aspects that this taps into, in addition to just the fun.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing, because we have a lot of founders that listen to the podcast, a lot of people are going to be interested to reach out to you guys. Obviously, download the app, immi, on the App Store. If they want to reach out to you or the company, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, the best way to do that is on Twitter, or TikTok or Instagram. So Twitter, our handle is immi_io.
Okay.
And then on TikTok and Instagram, it's just immi.io. And yeah, we definitely reach out to us. We're doing fun collaborations. I think brands, we're really excited. We have an amazing cap table, as you know, Tony Robbins and Mark Cuban and Steve Aoki and the founder of Zoom and Paris Hilton, and we've got G Money. We got a lot of fun people on the cap table. We're doing some really big things. We got some fun things planned, and so right now we're in the holy crap, how did you do this phase, where people download this thing like you did and go, how did you pull this off? That's what people.
Yeah.
So, and then eventually people will get the hang of it and they'll go, oh, that's an immi, or send me an immi, or did you see this immi posted? And it'll be a lot of fun when we see the feeds of the world become less, kind of superficial stuff about, whatever filters and this, that, and the other, more about like the creativity that I think this will inspire.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the launch, and excited to see. I'm sure you guys have a ton of awesome licensing deals in the future with all these characters coming your way.
We're working on it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
For coming on.
Thank you guys for your support.
Of course.
All right. We'll chat soon.
Sounds good.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. That was an incredible interview. And you know what? Everyone's going to have to live in the metaverse now, because we're about to be homeless.
Yeah. I mean, we've had, absent today, I think the last 3 days, the NASDAQ has been down like 12, 13%, which at that scale is absolutely insane. You're talking in 2022, I think the number is like $10 trillion has been erased in the market. So like
where did it go?
Where did
10 trillion go?
I think a lot of it went to cash.
Yeah.
But, here, I want to paint the optimistic case.
Well, now you're an artist? You're painting?
Yeah, I'm painting. I mean, I have to. What else am I going to do?
Yeah. You're an unemployed artist.
Being a tech investor is the worst thing. It might as well be like...
Isn't it crazy? Like, there's like... Tech is like a diseased. It's diseased.
It's so crazy. So before we get into earnings and more bloodbath.
What earnings? It's the losings. It's not earnings.
Coinbase earns and they still get crushed.
They lost money.
Well, we'll get to it. So here's the optimistic kind of case. Most stocks or growth tech stocks are down 80-90%, which is just like a staggering number.
Yeah.
And it's like some of the best names that we've seen in like a decade. And then you have the broader market hasn't corrected as much. Nasdaq's down, I think, 27-28% on the year, which is crazy. And your traditional companies are down, but not clearly as down as tech. And big techs, like Amazon's down like 38%. which, I mean, who's not using Amazon?
Nobody is.
Clearly.
Nobody uses Amazon. What are they doing over there?
My email says differently. I get an Amazon notification probably every 10 minutes.
You know what? If everyone individually orders everything every 15 minutes, you could put Amazon bankrupt.
So I think the optimistic case I was trying to like point to is there's been a lot of carnage. You need two things. You need some sort of good news. The problem is we've had no good news from a macro level. Forget the company specific level. You've had no good news in 5 months. So you've had rising inflation.
Gas.
You've had gas prices, food prices,
Russia, Ukraine,
and China's on full lockdown. So something's got to give in order for the market to go up.
Russia, Ukraine's not going anywhere. Bad call on that one on my part. I thought
Russia, Ukraine. If you were right, we would be rich right now.
Ripping.
Yes.
Ripping.
And so that it doesn't seem like that's ending anytime soon. You mentioned yesterday, which I thought was really smart, and I didn't even think about it. If Jim Cramer was on CNBC saying, if China just sentiment against zero COVID lockdown, then the market will rip because they'll assume supply chain eases up. So
that's the only realistic because gas prices can't go down.
So here, I got a text, which I shared with you, from a trader that basically, so the CPI is the Super Bowl tomorrow for the broader market.
Consumer Price Index.
Yes. So it's expected at 8.1% inflation.
Mm-hmm.
That's the expectation. So
what happens if it comes in at 12?
I mean, we're moving back home.
Yeah.
that's what happens if it comes in at 12. No, but if someone said Biden came out today and talked about inflation, how it's hurting families, and, you know, we got to do something about it. And this trader, and I thought it was pretty smart, said he knows inflation's coming under tomorrow and he gets to take credit for it the next day. So he came out today. So CPI comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. And if it comes under 8.1%, Biden just came out today and said inflation's such a big problem for American families. Keep in mind, we're still in politics, right? This isn't like just he looks better. And it's better for like Democratic candidates if under his watch he was able to like tame inflation.
Yeah.
So the political calculus this person said was like, he's coming out today and saying it because he knows it's coming in low. And if it comes in low, the market rips. If it comes in high, the market tanks.
We're at 15%. It's way more expensive than you thought.
So I think that's an interesting, like,
if consumer spending slowed, inflation inherently should slow because you're just buying less shit.
Yeah, we've heard all the anecdotal stuff, like things at like specifically the high end is way down.
The Rosewood Index.
That's
your whole judgment in life is based on one random small hotel.
Well, it's
in
the most
Santa Barbara.
expensive hotel in Southern California.
Yeah,
by like a lot.
All the tables were sold out at F1.
Yeah, but this is why Miami wasn't as good of an index, because if you're worth $1 billion and you're worth 700 million, it really doesn't.
Or 300 million. If you're worth $1 billion, you're worth 300.
Yeah, and unless you're levered, it probably doesn't affect your lifestyle, and you're probably sitting on a lot of cash.
And you're like, all right, I'll still go to F1.
Yeah, and you know, Nas performed at Carbone, LeBron's there, David Beckham.
Yeah,
you're gonna shell out.
Okay.
And a lot of Miami Formula One was prepaid. So if you prepaid your $3,000 a seat Carbone table, you can't call and say like, can you look like a clown if you're like, can you sell my table for me?
Yeah, put it on my Amex.
Yeah, because what is that? Like, it's $100K a table, right? Or no, well, it's like 25,000 a table, probably 8 people,
probably
something like that. So, macro level, you need good news for the market to turn, and we haven't gotten any. And the only thing that I saw that was positive was David Tepper, who's one of the most successful hedge fund traders of all time. And he owns the Carolina Panthers. He hasn't done well with the Panthers. So.
Yeah, he hasn't figured that one out.
Yeah, hopefully he's better at the market.
Yeah,
because he texted Jim Cramer this morning, and Jim Cramer reported on CNBC he closed out his short on the NASDAQ, and the market rallied early on because of that. The futures spiked.
That's unbelievable that like one of the richest men in the world
Yep.
can casually text, I don't care what anyone says, Jim Cramer is the biggest figure in financial news.
Yeah, you can have your opinion on whether
him?
he's wrong all the time or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Who's the only anchor everyone knows? Jim Cramer.
yeah, if you're not on Wall Street and you don't do this for a living, or you're not heavily invested in the market, Jim Cramer is your guy.
Yeah. 100%. I've been watching Jim Cramer since high school.
Yeah, there's tons of other great analysts, but everyone knows who Jim Cramer is.
Yeah. And so he publicly reports
Yes.
this guy's closing out a short. Talk about like
That's market manipulation. Like,
yes.
I mean, I was joking with you, like, that's the equivalent. Like, I watch First Take every morning on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith. There's no secret. Stephen A. Smith knows everyone in the league.
And they're feeding him in.
And they're feeding him information. They're feeding him opinions
Yeah.
to get their agendas out.
Yeah.
So, Rich Paul will call him to, spin a narrative on Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Like, hey, he's actually mentally, like,
Yeah.
not there. Like, can you please do that? I don't know that for a fact, but we know this stuff
Yep.
kind of goes on. This is insane.
It's not only insane because what that also tells me, because this guy is now all of a sudden stopped trading. He went long the NASDAQ this morning.
He went long yesterday.
Closed out his position.
He probably closed out at
Yester-
12:55 Pacific time PM and went long in the next 5 minutes.
Yes. He was long before the close. And
Then texted his homie.
he texts his home. He goes, yo, pump this shit up, Jimmy boy. And that's what they did. I love it. I love the market manipulation.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. And I like that it's out in the open. It's not even like,
It's not even in the shadows.
he didn't even say that, hey, I got a source, a mega trader saying they closed out. He goes, no, David Tepper just texted me.
He's like, I talked to my friend David Tepper.
Yeah.
So he's calling for NASDAQ above 12,000. And we're at like 11,800 right now.
But when?
I mean,
At the end of the year.
No. Like now. So he's bullish now, near term.
Jim Cramer or David
David
Tepper?
Tepper.
Okay. All right, Teppy boy.
David Tepper. He's the Ackman of March of 2020.
Yeah.
If he's right.
Yeah.
Like if tech rallies from here on out, then David Tepper manipulated the entire market for his benefit.
Hot.
Good for him.
Our benefit too.
Yeah, great. If I'm praying David Tepper's right.
Yeah. I'll become a Panthers fan if he's right.
Yeah, I'll buy a jersey. I'll buy a
Christian McCaffrey.
yeah,
Is he on
Christian
the Panthers?
McCaffrey jersey.
Okay. Because I don't know anyone else on the team. Fascinating. Let's get into some earnings, or some of us call it losings. Coinbase, which this one felt like a slam dunk that they were going to miss on every fucking metric. The
Mhm.
stock was already getting pressured. And Coinbase is one of those things where it's very obvious what's happening to that company. And we all know crypto volume has plummeted. Trading volume has plummeted. You see it in the price. It's reflected there. And they're taking a percentage of
Yep.
the trade. So it's obviously their revenue is going to be lower. I think what people were expecting was, they had given estimates, which already was projected down from, the year before and the quarter before. It ended up being worse than that. And it ended up being down, the revenue down 27%, which is just a big number. And then you start looking at like average monthly users, and then they've historically been a very profitable business. They were not profitable this time around. So I think those are all the red flags for Coinbase, and the stock got punished. And I think we talked about it in our actual group chat with our friend, that basically the market looks like they're not valuing them as a trading platform because they think it's a race to the bottom on fees.
Yeah, so I think a few things. The call hasn't happened yet, so we're recording this before the earnings call, so we just have whatever the numbers that were released.
Yeah.
And there could be color, could be stock-based compensation, why that loss exists, could be like a whole host of things. But like you said, it's no surprise volume's down. no surprise that fewer people traded crypto in the first in 2022 than last year. Everyone's out. Not only everyone's out, the markets broadly are all getting crushed. So yeah, they're gonna not have great earnings. So I assumed the stock being down 30% in the last 3 days was enough, but apparently not. It's down another 10, 12%. And here's the thing, right? I treat this the same way I viewed crypto 10 years ago. There's going to be a lot of noise. And if you believe you're in a market leader and you believe that this company is going to innovate, and sure, you can make the argument that trading commissions shouldn't be valued, which is, I think, is one of the most flawed things on Wall Street, the way analysts talk about it, because you see all these like people who come on Bloomberg and CNBC and they make that argument. And I've been in this space over a decade. They've spent billions and billions of dollars on security, infrastructure, and have a regulatory moat. Robinhood tried to come at them, failed. There's no US competitor even close in terms of volume. And you either believe crypto is real and Brian Armstrong's a great CEO, or you don't. And I believe the former. So while the stock's down a ton, you just have to have that, like, hey, I'm in the market leader in a space that's growing faster than anything.
So my only counter to that is Coinbase could turn out to be the clear leader in the space, right? I have no problem with that. I believe that, actually. The challenge now is the stock is in after hours trading at $62. If the stock went to $120 in the next 2 years, it would be considered a mega win.
I would say sooner than that. If it's a win, it's going to happen quickly.
No, because like it's going to take a long time to recoup all of these losses. It's not going to happen. And you're not going to see the stock. It IPO'd at $330, right? And it shot up to $400 something.
Yep.
And it's just gone down since. For the market to value it, because here's the real correction that's happening. Put aside crypto. They're, at the end of the day, they're a financial services company. They're being valued like other financial services company. So their metrics, where might be phenomenal a year from now, the market is going to go back and say, okay, like, what should we really comp it to? Because fintech was very overvalued. Fintech as a whole, as a platform, what Square was valued, PayPal. At the end of the day, they're just alternative banking solutions, right? They're a little bit more efficient. They're a better customer experience. All of those things are true. To me, it's a very much of the masking of the D2C brand. It's still at the end of the day a brand, right? And they're selling on the internet. Coinbase is different because they're obviously clearly on the infrastructure and security side, and this is the wild fucking West in terms of like what's happening.
Yep.
So I think you can win on all of those things, but the underlying way this company is going to be valued will be based on some sort of multiple of profits going forward. I don't think it's going to be valued like the way it was in the past. I don't think anything will be for the foreseeable future.
So I think in general,
because their revenues are going down. They're not going up. It's very different.
It's going to take the market to just turn around for their revenue to go up.
Yeah.
And I think you have to believe Coinbase is going to be beyond a trading platform. Like, they hired 1,000 people in the last 18 months.
What are they doing over there?
So they're not just like making sure the commissions are coming in.
Yeah.
So they're building shit.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much going on in crypto that is behind the scenes that isn't being talked about. And they need to shed light on what they're building.
Yeah, now it's a PR move from a narrative standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, don't value us as a trading platform.
Yeah, and I think it's stupid not to value them as a trading platform on top of everything they're building. And they have the best talent. It's widely known it's virtually impossible to hire crypto engineers. They have a venture arm within the firm. And Coinbase is now trading at 16 billion, maybe less.
Yeah.
And OpenSea, which is an NFT platform, was valued at $10 billion a year ago, or 8 months ago.
That's wild.
And Coinbase has 75 million users. OpenSea has 1 million.
So it's 175. So 75 times bigger.
And more people interact with.
Speaking of crypto, what happened with this Luna? It's a lunatic.
Luna is a whole different. We need to do a whole different segment on Luna.
What happened? I just saw plummeted.
It was pegged to a stable coin, and the stable coin got rugged, and Luna just crashed.
I don't know anything about what a stable coin is. It's supposed to be stable.
And it wasn't.
So it's worth less than $1.
Yes. So that's a whole different story. I haven't read it. I
read the whole deep dive on it. I had no idea what the fuck happened even after reading that.
Yeah.
I just know it looked like it dropped like a rock.
Yeah. I mean, I think with Coinbase, the noise, that's the problem with being a publicly traded company. You get the quarterly earnings just dictate what happens. And you either a long-term view on crypto and the US allowing crypto to exist, or you don't. And I think that's where the camp you have to be in.
Yeah, and I think the challenge for all of these companies, and I guess since it's happening to everybody at once, it's not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But most of these folks that work in these high growth, high flying companies that are now publicly traded, their compensation is tied, their wealth is tied to the price of the stock.
Yep.
And so the next company is Roblox. Missed.
Yep.
Just missed earnings, missed revenue. This was also a very obvious one. Guess what? I guess everyone's not playing video games all day again. They're actually
have to go to school.
They go into school, and even we go to the park to play
baseball
sports.
Practice.
They're packed. Every sport is packed, sold out, and so it's really crazy what the pandemic did. Pandemic was literally this blip for, call it 18 to 24 months. And then everyone forgot what the hell we were doing those 2 years and have just gone completely back to normal living. You know what? I'm going to walk into Target and pick up my groceries again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just complete change. Like the ability to immediately shift our behavior back to normal. I remember reading so much like all our behaviors have shifted, everything, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. We're going to Walmart.
Costco's on fire.
So I'll give you an example. My oldest went with my wife for 2 birthday parties to Disneyland in the last week, 2 birthday parties. And I've talked about how I'm not a fan, so obviously I didn't go. But they said it was so crowded, slammed. One was the middle of the week. And one was a Saturday. Slammed. Disney is announcing earnings tomorrow. Obviously, everyone's going to be looking at the streaming.
That's all anyone cares about.
That's the problem.
It's similar to trading commission. Everyone's going to discount the parks are back.
The parks, my guess.
Especially because China Disney's probably closed, right? Shanghai Disney.
I'm sure. I bet you American theme park business and I had no idea like how much a ticket is to Disneyland, let alone what the VIP experience looks like. They're shitting cash.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, no one's going to care about that. It's just the streaming.
I mean,
because Netflix got taken to the woodshed.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're going to be like, great, you have a good theme park. We've known this for 100 years.
Yeah.
Or however long Disneyland's been around.
Or Disney says, guess what? No one actually gives a shit about streaming. We're in the parks business. And looks what the parks business. I would go out and say, like, we have every franchise. We have every major theme park in the world. Who's sitting at home watching TV?
Yeah, but they got so many pops because of
Disney but you gotta just you should be like,
but you know how Wall Street thinks. They get zeroed in. They're just gonna zero in on the streaming.
Disneyland Austin.
Yeah, but it takes time to build it.
It's pretty fascinating. So Roblox, a darling of the COVID era. And, you know, one of the IPOs that everyone was like, oh, wow, finally an IPO that held on. Toilet.
Yeah. Roblox is
the stock is at $23, now $22, all-time high of 141.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking, this was like a $90 billion company. Now they're 15. What is that? What is like, I have some, I actually, let's just move on to the next one. Peloton reported earnings. This was the most obvious because I've informed every one of you that nobody rides Peloton and it's not a good business. They reported earnings, and you know, everyone thinks that like, hey, it can't get any worse. It can get worse. Worse is zero.
Yes.
Zero is possible for a lot of these businesses. Not all of them.
Not a lot. Some.
Like a Peloton.
Roblox is going to exist. That's not going to zero.
No, it won't. But someone said, put on Twitter the other day, you can go down 5% a day and you'll never go to zero.
That's true.
But Peloton, you know, the CEO came out today in earnings and was like, I didn't realize how big of a mess this place is.
Because it's a new CEO.
It's a new CEO. The losses are mounting. He has made it clear that they can run out of cash. So they need they tapped a debt facility. It's
not good when your CEO says on a call with investors that you could run out of cash. That's like the last thing investors want to hear.
Yeah. They borrowed $750 million from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs.
So Jamie Dimon's still handing it out. He handed it out to Adam Newman.
He loves it. He loves handing it out. Loves it. I mean, the revenue did $964 million. Losses for this quarter. Losses. $757 million. What in the flying fuck is going on over there?
Look, this is your big call. You're right. I hope you shorted it enough to profit off of it.
I was going to short this earnings, but I was like, man, what if they just some dumbass company buys them? And I think this will get acquired.
Yeah, it'll get acquired.
Because there's going to be some private equity go, oh, I love this bike.
I don't think like any of these companies are actually going to zero. So this is why like I think it's very different than .com. Like all of these businesses work in a proper cost structure.
Yeah.
And with the SaaS companies, it's like you overhired on sales.
Yeah.
You overhired on all these different divisions. If your product works, it works. Like I know next to nothing about software, but I hear organizations can't, once they get on these platforms, they can't imagine functioning without them.
Yeah.
Like even Josh talks about Airtable.
Yeah.
And he can't even imagine a world without using Airtable.
Yeah.
What the pricing is, what like, you know, all that and the cost structure within the company may change, but they're going to exist. Yeah. Twilio powers. So like when you order DoorDash or Postmates and you get that text that says your driver's on the way, that's Twilio. Right? So that's not going away. Someone's got to tell you your food's here.
They're going back to phones. They're just going to call you. Hey, Anand, this is Mary. Your pizza's on the way.
So my point is like these companies like are going to exist. And
so you say.
I mean, nothing's gone bankrupt and they're down 80-90%.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean
even WeWork isn't it SPAC'd out?
Yeah, it's public.
And WeWork was actually like effectively just a
WeWork is still a $4.5 billion company.
That's my point. Like shared workspaces
can't be a good business.
It can't be a good business, but it is a business.
Yeah. That's
my point. So, you know, David Tepper is effectively calling the bottom. Keith Raboy from Founders Fund, he called the top in November. And now he tweeted today, hitting June 2000 vibes. I don't remember what happened in June 2000. What I'm gleaning from it was that there's still a lot of pain to come.
Yeah.
But I think he's referring, because he's a private market investor, despite having like IPOs.
Yeah.
I think he means in the private markets in tech. Because the private market companies haven't gotten re-rated yet.
Yeah, well, because they all raised money at the end of last year.
Yeah,
So-
but they're all being told raise as much cash as you can, cut your expenses, because if you raise capital, you're going to be down 70-80%. Like OpenSea today, seeing what happened to Coinbase, what would OpenSea raise at?
1 billion?
From 10.
That would be equivalent. They're down 90%.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't this one be down 90%?
Yeah, that's a big issue in like stock compensation for employees, attracting talent, all that stuff. But ooh-wee. You know who doesn't have that problem?
Who?
Tom Brady.
No. What in the fuck deal is this?
So it leaked this morning. Tom Brady signed a $375 million deal over 10 years to be a broadcaster on Fox for the NFL games.
Whenever he decides to retire.
Whenever he decides to retire. Fox has now come out and said whatever has been reported is inaccurate, but that must be the ballpark if it leaked, because it was reported by a bunch of people. So
and maybe his people are in negotiation. They leaked it.
Yeah.
And now Amazon knows what the price is for Tom Brady. They're like, oh, whatever, let's give him 50. Who cares?
It's crazy what's happened with the NFL, because right, you have every streaming company now is, at least you have Apple and Amazon that are potential bidders.
Yeah.
Amazon already is in the business of the NFL, and you have the traditional networks, NBC and Fox and CBS. And the analyst has become so important.
I don't even watch with sound.
Which is also like crazy that the networks believe that the analyst matters this much.
I honestly think it could be. I'd rather hear like these diehard sports fans, especially in cities with accents.
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia, Boston.
The Boston.
I want, if a Patriot game is going on, I want that local dude at the bar who talks like,
Yeah, they're getting paid more than the players.
Exactly. Why not? I don't believe anyone cares about the announcers. Do they really?
I think the diehard fans do. Like the people that really, but you're talking these games have 20 million viewers. You're talking like maybe the top 10% of viewers that are super
care that Troy Aikman is calling this game,
that are like super analytical about the game. But I mean, I gotta imagine, what do you think the percentage on a Sunday NFL is watching at a bar versus?
Yeah, you're watching with your friends. You're just having drinks and you're not paying attention.
You have 5 to 10% that are super dialed in on gambling. They're super dialed in on fantasy.
Fantasy's probably bigger.
Fantasy's way bigger.
Yeah.
But your average fantasy player doesn't know anything about football.
No. It's a fantasy land.
Yeah. And my point is, most people aren't living and dying by the words of these guys.
Nobody cares what they say.
I don't think so.
I definitely...
And I'm a diehard. I actually care. Like, my favorite broadcast is Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels.
Yeah. I like their voices.
And I think Collinsworth, he dissects the play immediately. And like, football is tough because we didn't play growing up. So all these like schemes and coverages, I have no fucking clue what's going on.
That's why I don't care. That's why I just put it on silent. I just want to see touchdowns.
Like the NBA, like I don't need sound to understand what's going on in the game.
Yeah, slam dunk.
Or whatever.
3 points.
But it's clearly the networks are valuing, because you have Tony Romo making like 18-20 million, Troy Aikman making 18-20 million. If they're saying 37.5 million, take a discount, 30 million for Brady.
Yeah.
What's Peyton getting? Peyton's probably getting 20 million.
Yeah. Wild.
Those are crazy numbers.
If that's really, maybe they have analytics that say otherwise. And if that's the case, then like every other sport should have better analysts.
Yeah, the NBA is lacking because you have the TNT guys, which are the best. Yeah. You have Shaq, Charles Barkley, and Kenny Smith.
Maybe you need to get bigger personalities in.
If you paid $30 million a year, you'll get anyone.
Yeah,
you're not going to get a retired guy who made $300 million in his career for $5 million.
No, you get Dave Chappelle. Imagine if Dave Chappelle did the NBA Finals, like a simulcast, like
what Peyton and Eli were doing.
Yes, but it's a Dave Chappelle.
I'm trying to think.
He would be. I mean, you know how funny it'd have to be on a channel that allows.
I'm trying to think the NBA equivalent. Who is a retired player that's not on TNT already?
Michael Jordan.
You just know he's not going to do it. He's worth too much money.
Okay, pay him $50 million. He might do it.
$50 million, he'll do it.
Yeah. And he goes, oh man, this guy's whack as shit.
Well, he owns a team, so he can't do it.
They got to break the rules. This team.
I'm trying to think who's a retired player. It would have been Kobe, R.I.P.
Michael Jordan. Who else?
Because Shaq's already on, Barkley's on.
Magic is already did
Magic did it, and
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
he's on to different things. I'm trying to think, who would it be?
D Wade.
Nah.
No.
He doesn't have that
Stick
kind
to
of
the
star
Met
power.
Gala.
Yeah.
He's the Met Gala crowd.
I don't know.
Larry Bird.
No young person gives a shit about Larry Bird.
But that's not who you're trying to attract.
But I don't think old people would care.
I don't know.
Maybe
Boston.
old white people would care. Is there anyone? You're a basketball fan, Jordan? I'm trying to think. I'm a basketball
I'm trying
fan.
to think. I don't know.
Yao Ming.
Yao Ming would be great.
Yao Ming would work.
Just do it in Mandarin.
Yeah. Don't even play in English. Who cares what American fans think?
Obviously, the obvious answer is Draymond Green, but he's still playing, and he's
Yeah, but he's not gonna he'll be big, but he's not Tom Brady.
because right now the rising star in NBA broadcasting is JJ Redick.
Oh God.
But you compare JJ Redick to Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Or even Peyton Manning.
Yeah, Peyton Manning.
Yeah. You need the biggest stars.
Damn, there's not one player I can think of.
They should let existing players commentate.
I mean, that's what Draymond's doing. He does a podcast after every game.
Wow.
He records more podcasts than anyone who makes money professionally on a podcast.
So this guy's tired from playing and it just goes, yo, homie, let's knock out a
Yeah,
pod.
he does 40 minutes
Talking about the game.
talking about the game.
Wow. Is it popular?
Top 10 sports podcast.
Wow. So he's found his career.
And he has a deal with TNT. You've seen him on TNT. At least you've seen clips.
Yeah. All right. Great. Good for them.
Yeah. But it's crazy that announcing matters so much for NFL versus any other sport.
Yeah.
I guess Major League Baseball tried it with A-Rod, and I'm sure it's working. He's on the desk.
I think it's also just the frequency of games. It's like NFL is still an event.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday night football is an event. Monday night football, Thursday night football. It's like only one game.
I mean, to be honest, Stephen A. Smith is bigger than 99% of the players.
Yeah.
If you take out the top 5 to 10 guys, he's more famous.
What people don't appreciate that you just need the color commentary.
Meaning
in NBA, I don't think it's as technical as
right.
I think it has to be entertaining.
Yeah, because you have
There's
the lead crew is Jeff Van Gundy, Mike Breen, and Mark Jackson in NBA.
Yeah. And Jeff Van Gundy is hilarious.
He's funny.
He's funny. But obviously he's not
But he's dry. He's Seinfeld humor.
Yeah. He's good for for me, he's perfect.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
And I like how I always find it very interesting. If you ever see him do a LeBron game, he only calls him James.
Yeah.
Why not LeBron? Is that some Seinfeld kind of?
Yeah. I'm sure they have a relationship. All right. That's enough about these overpaid announcers. Anything else? Shout outs?
Nope.
All right. Well, let's see. CPI or bust tomorrow. I'm curious to see what happens with that. Your boy Biden. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah. Hopefully he took the victory lap early. We get some good news.
Maybe he doesn't even know the CPI index is coming out tomorrow.
That'd be a problem.
Man, geez, this is rough. All right. Let's all pray for low inflation tomorrow. I mean, we really need it. I don't think you realize. By the way, I had mentioned on last pod about the tweet that Meta and was rescinding offers and slowing on interviews.
Meta is Facebook for people that
they maybe Meta World Peace is not hiring either.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a DM of an engineer that said that Meta and Amazon, who he was interviewing with, said they have hiring freezes.
Interesting.
Engineer.
Yeah, that's. I hope he didn't get that notice because they didn't want to hire him.
Yeah.
They're not hiring.
No, but you can. They're too big of companies. Just say that as an excuse.
Yeah. Engineers are the most in demand. I could see sales
There's that
People getting-
website. I don't know if you've been following. It's kind of like the modern fucked company. Fuck company was during the .com
Right.
bust. It was the site that everyone kind of went to see in the industry, like what company was happening with what, and they ended up. So it's called layoffs.fyi, and it also itemizes what positions these people got laid off. So if you want to hire them, it's actually kind of helpful. So if you're a company looking for talent from one of these companies, there are some big names that got laid off in the industry
Yeah.
that are very talented.
I mean, I was saying this in January that
Yeah.
this was going to happen. We're in May, and companies that are private have to cut burn.
Yep.
They have to hope they don't need to raise, because if you go to raise capital now, it's worse than March of 2020.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Well, Godspeed, everyone. We'll see you on Thursday.
On Thursday.
CPI or bust.
If inflation's at 14%, don't expect an episode.
Yeah, fuck this. Bye.